What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and we've just got a brand new Twitter Files drop. And this time, it's implicating a lot of top Democrats and government officials in the perpetuation of the ridiculous Russia stuff that we've seen over the past zillion years. I mean, really peaking in like, 2015, 2016. Every problem on the planet, that we dealt with in the United States. It's such a powerful country, constantly getting taken down by Russian trolls and things of that nature. It was a wild time where people are just believing everything at face value. And I want to get into this, release by Matt Taibbi, who's doing excellent work, by the way. And you should follow MTAIBBI on Twitter. Of course, I'll be here to break it all down for you as well. I do want to give a shout out, pushing hard. January is a little tight on YouTube. January, February, March, and now's a perfect time to take the plunge and consider trying one of our over a dozen organic loose leaf teas. This is my company. This isn't a sponsor. Some of our delicious decadent hot cocos. The peppermint hot cocoa is going away soon, so if you want to pick up some of that, stock up on that, grab that. Obviously, our other hot cocos are absolutely delicious. And our massive selection of coffees, including our dark roast and 004 is wildly popular. All of our flavors, including blueberry cobbler, is extremely popular. We've got some flavors on sale right now as a last chance to pick them up. We've got our cold brew bags, which continue to sell amazingly. I'm actually expanding that lineup. We've got our K-Cups. We've got our Roaster's Choice program. If you've been thinking about supporting or giving the product a try, maybe make today the day you do that with promo code The Quartering to save. Russia, Twitter Files, number 14. I'll leave the link in the description, by the way. I know I talk about it all the time, but, it's hopefully, it will reduce my dependence on pleasing Mama Susan. The Russiagate files. 1. The fake tale of the Russian bots and the release the memo hashtag. A crucial moment in the years-long furor, Democrats announced a report about the flaws in the Trump-Russia investigation, saying that it was boosted by Russian bots and trolls. This is a catch-all term usually for people we don't like. Twitter officials were aghast, finding zero evidence of Russian influence. We were feeding congressional trolls, not any significant activity connected to Russia, putting the cart before the horse, assuming this is propaganda/bots. So this is like wagging the dog. Essentially, the government said, but you have Russian bots. And Twitter kept saying, no, we don't. No matter how often they looked, they couldn't find any. Twitter even warned politicians and media that not only lacked evidence, but had evidence the accounts were in fact not even Russian and were roundly ignored because you never let the facts get in the way of a good narrative. On January 18th, 2018, Republican Devin Nunes submitted a classified memo to the House Internal Committee detailing bad behavior by the FBI in obtaining FISA surveillance authority against Trump-connected figures, including the crucial role played by the infamous bologna sausage Steele dossier. You may remember it as the Piss dossier. The Nunes assertions would virtually all be verified in a report by Justice Department Inspector General Mitchell Horowitz in December 2019. And again, you click through the actual thread if you want to read. He has all the receipts here posted, but nonetheless, national media in January and early February in 2018 denounced the Nunes report in oddly identical language, calling it a, quote, joke. Here you see MSNBC, 2 ex-DOJ officials on Nunes memo, a bad joke. Andrea Mitchell, Nunes has turned the House Intel Committee into a joke. The Nunes memo is out, it's a joke. I mean, everybody used the exact same language. It's almost as if it was coordinated. Leave a like on this video right now if you haven't yet subscribed. I've been on the Twitter file since day one, and I will continue to cover them in the moment that they come out. My only ask ever is that you consider subscribing down below. On January 23rd, 2018, Senator Dianne Feinstein of a Democrat in California and Congressman Adam Schiff, Democrat, California, published an open letter saying the hashtag, quote, gained the immediate attention and assistance of social media accounts linked to Russian influence operations. Feinstein and Schiff said that Nunes' memo distorts classified information, but they don't actually call it incorrect. Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal followed suit, publishing a letter saying, "We find it reprehensible that Russian agents have so eagerly manipulated innocent Americans." Feinstein, Schiff, Blumenthal, the media members, all pointed to the same exact source, the Hamilton 68 dashboard created by former FBI counterintelligence official Clint Watts under the auspice of the Alliance of Securing Democracy. The dashboard, which featured a crude picture of Vladimir Putin deviously blowing evil red tweet birds into the atmosphere, was vague in how it even reached its conclusions. Inside Twitter, executive panned Watts, Hamilton 68, and the Alliance for Securing Democracy. Two key complaints: Hamilton 68 seemed to be everyone's only source, and nobody was actually checking with Twitter. It's propaganda. It was propaganda perpetrated by our own government. 14, quote, "I encourage you to be skeptical of Hamilton 68's take on this, which, as far as I can tell, is the only source for these stories," said Global Policy Communications Chief and future White House and NSC spokesperson Emily Horn. She added, "It's a comms play for ASD." Quote, "All the swirl is based on Hamilton," said Trust and Safety Yoel Roth. Even Yoel Roth said it was baloney. Even Yoel Roth. If ASD isn't going to fact check with us, we should feel free to correct the record of their work, said Policy VP Carlos Mongi, essentially saying, look, they're running these reports with proof of, Russian blah, 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 but they never even checked with Twitter to verify anything. They didn't even bother. Some might say because they weren't interested in fact checking it. Roth could not find any Russian connection to the hashtag release the memo at all. Quote, "I just reviewed the accounts that posted the first 50 tweets with release the memo ad, and none of them show any signs of affiliation with Russia. We investigated, found the engagement as overwhelmingly organic and driven by VITs, which are very important tweeters, including WikiLeaks and Congressman Steve King. A staffer for DiFi, Feinstein, agreed it would be, quote, helpful to know how Hamilton 68 goes by, quote, the process by which they decide an account is actually Russian, but only after Feinstein published her letter about Russian influence." Oh, interesting. So it's probably, we should probably look into the process here of how they actually said it, but only after she said that she absolutely is proof, that there was Mo Russia. When Twitter spoke to a Blumenthal staffer, they tried to, quote, wave him off because we don't believe those are bots. Well, they don't believe it, even though there's no evidence. Added another, it might be worth nudging Blumenthal staffer that it could be in his boss's best interest to not go out there because it could come back and make him look silly. Of course, from Nick Pickles. Nick Pickles was on the thread. One Twitter executive even tried to negotiate, implying an undisclosed future PR concession if Blumenthal would lay off of this. Quote, "It seems like there are other wins we could offer him." Well, that's nefarious, isn't it? Working directly with... So Twitter didn't like being associated with this whole Russian bot thing, so they're basically offering some sort of quid pro quo. Blumenthal pushed his letter anyway. Executives eventually grew frustrated over what they saw as a circular process presented with claims of Russian activity, even when denied, led to even more claims. They expressed this explicitly to Blumenthal's camp, saying that Twitter spent a lot of resources on this request, and the reward from Blumenthal shouldn't be round after round of requests. We can't do a user notice every single time this happens. Eventually, Twitter staff realizes, quote, Blumenthal isn't looking for real and nuanced solutions, but just wants to get credit for pushing us further. Shocking. Ultimately, senior executives talked about feeding congressional trolls and compared their situations to the children's book, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. In the story, if you give a mouse a cookie, he'll want a glass of milk, which will lead to a wave of exhausting requests, at the end of which he'll want a glass of milk and one more cookie. The metaphor for endless Russian requests was so perfect, one executive wrote, I'm legit embarrassed I didn't think of it first. Despite universal internal conviction that there were zero Russians in the story, Twitter went on to follow a slavish pattern of not challenging Russia claims on the record because they were worried about their own reputation, even though they knew that it was fake. Outside counsel from DC connected firms like Debivos and Plimpton advised Twitter to use language like, quote, with respect to particular hashtags, we take seriously any activity that may represent an abuse of our platform. As a result, reporters from the AP to Politico to NBC to Rolling Stone continued to hammer the Russian bots theme despite a total and complete lack of evidence. Russians weren't just blamed for release a memo, but Schumer shutdown, the Parkland stuff, gun control now, to widen the divide, according to the New York Times. Hashtag Schumer shutdown and release a memo. The internal guidance was, quote, both hashtags are organically trending. So when inconvenient, they just say, oh, it's Russian bots. Everyone knows this. And then even though Twitter internally knew that wasn't true, they didn't correct it because of fear of their own kind of blowback. NBC, Politico, AP, Times, Business Insider, and other media outlets who played up the Russian bot story, even the Rolling Stone, all declined to comment for this story. Shocking. The staffs of Feinstein, Schiff, and Blumenthal also declined to comment. Who did comment? Devin Nunes. Schiff and the Democrats falsely claimed Russians were behind the release the memo hashtag. All my investigative work. By spreading the Russia collusion hoax, they instigated one of the greatest outbreaks of mass delusion in the United States history. This release the memo episode is just one of many in the Twitter Files Russiagate scandal that was built on the craven dishonesty of politicians and reporters who for years ignored the absence of data to fictional scare headlines. For more, of course, watch Schellenberg, Barry Weiss, Alfang, Zeiss, and Bernstein for more. Twitter had no editorial input on the story. Searches were carried out by third parties, so the documents could be limited. They accuse us of malinformation. We accuse them of gaslighting. Guess who's on the right side of the story? The Democrats knowingly pushed this absolute garbage, proofless story on the American people. The mainstream media pushed the very same story to sell clicks and sow seeds of fear so they could more easily control you. And Twitter worked directly with them. Make sure you leave a like on this video. Make sure you subscribe. I will stay on top of this story as the fallout will continue throughout the day. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll talk to you again real soon.